Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to our regular governing board meeting with executive session for today's meeting of December 10th, 2025. And please let the record reflect that it is 6:07 p.m. Please join me in the pledge. Before doing so, my regular statement. For everyone's safety, we respectfully ask that no one approach the dais during the meeting, during recess, or after the meeting adjourns. This includes walking past the podium. Thank you. And with that, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And we've got the Brent Tarver Leadership Academy leading us today. Thank you. Now, the Cartwright School District is located on the ancestral homelands of the Hohokam, Akimel, Odom, and Odom Jude people, ancestors of the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community, or otherwise known as SRP-MIC. We acknowledge the rich oral history, culture of these communities, and their ancestral ties to the land. With that, moving forward, I've got item number 5. I move that we adopt the agenda as presented for tonight's or this evening's meeting. Ms.
I have
Cantu?
a question regarding the agenda. I'd like to request that we pull out item number 3 and number 11. It looks like number 3 brought to my attention that number 3
Thank you.
actually what it shows is that Dr. Jacob Chavez, former superintendent, and Zeke OJ, former CFO, are both receiving $10,000 a month from from April to November, which equals a total of $160,000 within 6 months. So my question is, what is the rationale? Because this goes above and beyond what our principals are making.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. I made a motion, so we have a motion on the
well,
table.
I still have a question. So,
And
secondly,
Ms.
would
Cantu,
be
do
the
you have a
item number
second?
11. Excuse me, Lydia. Christine and
Thank
Linda,
you.
would you please document that President
We will
Lydia
proceed.
Hernandez is not allowing me to speak? And I want that documented for future reference. I'd also like to mention again item number 11. It looks like an administrator who had requested vacation and sick is not on this list.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Let me just explain that my hesitancy with this, because it's just parliamentary procedures and our process agreed upon by board policy is that when there's a motion on the table, we've got to continue with that motion. We're not in discussion mode, and we can only discuss items that are on before us on the agenda. So I do have a second.
This is related to the agenda, and you did not allow me to finish before you asked for your second. So you want to talk about policy, Robert's rules? You are totally violating all of that, including my right to speak as an elected official.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. But I did make the motion. You should have made that interjection before I made the motion. So I will proceed with a roll call vote. Ms. Cantu, how do you vote on the adoption of the current agenda as presented?
I did second, and I vote aye.
Thank you. And Ms.
Linda,
Ms.
Christine,
Hernandez, how
would
do
you
you
please
vote?
document that they have turned off my mic again, and I continue to turn
Point
it on?
of order.
I want
Taking
this
a
to be
vote.
documented for future reference.
Ms. Romero, how do
You
you
are
vote?
not allowed to do that.
Ms. Romero, how do you vote? I'm sorry?
I was letting Ms. Denise Garcia finish.
And
what
how
she
do you
was
vote? Because
saying
then,
real quick.
point of order, when I call the point of order, it means that we've got to, we're in the middle of a vote.
I
So we've got to
understand,
finish the
Lydia.
vote. There's no
Thank you for
discussion.
explaining that. I will abstain.
Please let the record reflect there's an abstention. And Ms. Garcia, how do you vote?
Before I explain my vote, I would once again like to request that number 3 and number 11 be pulled. So for further discussion, again, what is the rationale for Jacob Chavez and Zeke OJ to receive $10,000 a month? equaling a total of $160,000, and which again is more than the principals make. What an insult! Including, let me see my notes, number 11, there is an administrator who had requested a payout and for her sick and vacation, and she is not on the voucher, she's not on the list. So again, for future reference, I would like to request a discussion on both items along with the rationale for Jacob Chavez and Zeke OJ. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia.
I vote no.
Thank you. That's a no, and I vote aye, and motion carries. Moving forward with the current agenda as presented. Moving on to action items. Item F, am I correct on the right? Oh, thank you for that. That's the other. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to move forward with the Award of Excellence to the fourth generation family, John F. Long, Mr. Victor Rodriguez. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President Lydia Hernandez, Mr. Steve Watson, governing board members, executive team, and everyone joining us both in person and on YouTube. Tonight, we're very proud to present the Award of Excellence to a remarkable family from the John F. Long community. For 4 generations, they have been dedicated supporters of the Cartwright School District. So I'm going to ask you to please turn your attention to the video to learn more about this family.
I came to John F. Long School, and I think it was 1959 through 1967. I was the last graduating class of 8th graders. The school has definitely changed. When I first started here, I think there was 3 buildings altogether, all right? And that took care of everything. We didn't have a cafeteria. We either brought our lunch or we went home for lunch. So the consistency for the neighborhood has not been the same, but the consistency for the staff here at John F. Long, that has always remained the same. They care about the kids, they care about the education, and they want to make sure that everybody feels safe and loved. And that's what John F. Long has always been. It's a safe place, it's a loving place for all of our family.
Everybody in the neighborhood knew each other, and all the teachers, it didn't matter what grade they were, they knew who you were. Doing the play every year, doing the turkey bowl every year with the teachers, having the ice cream shack on the field, with the Monster Mash play that we would do every year. I think that was one of my favorite. To think that my kids, my grandchildren are now coming upon this age that I was when I was here. It's cool to look at them and say, whoa, I remember going there when I was your age.
What I remember this library a lot. It has the exact same paintings and colored shelves and everything. And the buildings were different. There was 3 buildings off to the side over here when you first enter the school. And it was brown. The whole school was brown. It wasn't the green color it is now. This is a pretty amazing experience, getting to share this with my kids and my mom and my grandma. It's not something you think is going to happen. You know, I wish there was more families that could say that they have multi-generationals coming here, because it would be a really nice thing to see. But I'm blessed that my family has gotten to have this experience.
Because our generation went to this school, and our whole entire family went to this school because they were Longhorn scholars. And the activities I do here is like play tag. Mostly I'll just go on the monkey bars. If you're in 3rd grade, it's actually pretty fun because you get to do still math, subtraction, but you also get to do multiplication, division, and if you're doing that, if you do not know your skip counting, we'll do our skip counting. I would say it's the best school, and John F. Long, it's better than the other schools.
My name's Symphony.
What grade are you in?
Kindergarten. My teacher's name is Miss Pritchard. Because I love to color stuff. I would say because it's so nice, because it always lets me draw and it always lets me play in there.
it feels really good to know that we've all stepped through those same phases together but apart. We all went here growing up, so this is just like home away from home.
It means the Longhorns. It means my neighborhood. It means growing up. It means remembering fun experiences with my friends and my kids' friends and my grandkids' friends now. It means home.
Johnny Flong is just part of who we are. And so this is just a second home. Education has been a big part of our family. And Johnny Flong, definitely a big part of our family. Because we're all Longhorns.
So we're going to ask the family to join us. We're really honored to recognize and celebrate their dedication and efforts. We're going to start with Shannon, if you can please join us. Keep in mind that Johnny Home opened in 1958, and this family has been part of the school since 1959. So you were part of it since the beginning. Shannon, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. So we're going to ask you to move this. Bridget. Thank you so much. Thank you. Symphony. Here, is it? Oh, it's Symphony? Oh, here? Oh. Thank you. So I'm going to ask the governing board president and board members if you can please join us here. You know, we're going to take a quick picture. Mr. Watson, if you can please join us.
Thank you. Thank you for the family for being here. Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to introduce the representatives, CEA representative, that is, Mr. Cesar Cota and Betsy Bryan and Laurie Richards for being present here tonight, joining us. And also, we've got the CEA doing a presentation of donation for the Cartwright Center for Strong Families and Thriving Children. Ms. Laurie Richards.
On behalf of the Cartwright Education Association, my name is Laurie Richards and I'm the CEA president. It is my honor to present this $1,000 check to the Cartwright Family Center. Our educators are committed to supporting our community, and we know the Cartwright Family Center plays a vital role in meeting the needs of our students and families, especially during the winter months. We are grateful for the work that the Family Center does every day, and we are proud to partner with you in ensuring that every family in our community feels supported, valued, and cared for. So with that said, we would like to present this $1,000 check to the Cartwright Family Center in order to meet the needs of our families this winter as the holiday season approaches. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. thank you for that as well. Especially as we, considering current times and the needs of our families. Very much appreciated. Thank you. And with that, moving on with the agenda, we've got item D, which is a call to the public, and this is for consideration and possible discussion of comments and complaints from the public. The governing board will not take any legal action on matters raised during this portion of the meeting unless the comments and complaints pertain to items included on the agenda. A 3-minute time limit is set, and all are asked to adhere to this limit. The governing board may direct staff to study matters raised by the public or to reschedule those matters for future consideration, discussion, and possible action at a later date. If there, and I think I do have a few. Because we do have several calls to the public, I think we've got maybe about, it looks like maybe 10 to 13. Yeah, 13 items, 13 individuals. Our policy states that if it is considered necessary, the president shall set a time limit on the length of the comment period. But I think the 13th is going to be manageable. Okay. And with that, I'd like to call the first person that I have. This is regarding a presentation for a community initiative event at the Justice Spitali School. And we've got, is it Andrew White and is it Jalen Hurley? Hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I got it correct. Okay.
There we go. All right, we were asked to come to the board meeting so we can present this community initiative that we are looking to complete at the Justine Spitali School. We are looking to do a charity event. So our company, we are Digital Building Components. We are a manufacturer and we do prefabricated exterior wall panels all across the United States for healthcare, data centers, and student housing. Part of our mission is to be the most admired company, and part of that is our community initiatives. So we do facility construction renovation, career education guidance, and operational support. So we are looking to do a baseball, softball field renovation at the Justine Spitali School. So we'll quickly go through the scope.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrew White, Project Manager with Digital Building Components. So if you look at page 3 here, this is the field renovation zone 1 plan. So the plan would be to address this zone.
Excuse me, do you currently have a contract with Cartwright Elementary School District?
No, it's not contract work. We are donating everything.
Okay.
So there's a number at the end that's just rough cost of what it's going to potentially cost us. So the school district, the school pays nothing.
This is all just 100% volunteer presentation for this. It's okay.
We were told that
I just had a question regarding the presentation. I didn't know whether there had been any previous conversations regarding it, but we'll listen to the presentation.
Back and forth with Jeanette and Brandon and had a few visits of different things that they want to do at the school. But it's nothing the school pays for completely out of our own pockets.
Right. I'm sorry. But go ahead with the presentation, but I do direct you to work with staff at the district level. There's a protocol that we follow, but I just was confused as to what we were doing. Thank you.
I know we have time limit, so we're kind of rushing through.
Okay.
Understood. So if we look at field renovation, the plan would be to address the existing fence. So the idea would be to remove or replace that existing fence of the baseball field, provide concrete pads on the west and north end of the baseball field to accommodate future dugouts that we would like to build on the concrete pads themselves. And then followed by stadium seating to complete the Zone 1 application for the project. I know we're out of time, but I can go on if you like. Sure. Understood. And if you guys get any proposals or anything from us, just let us know.
Sorry, my mic wasn't on either, but okay. So you're wanting to donate a field.
We'd be building like basically dugouts around the field and replacing, because their fencing right now is kind of all messed up. It's not safe. If someone were running into it, they're going to get hurt. So we're going to replace, put new fencing in, put dugouts in so the kids have structure, shade structure where they're sitting, just sprucing up the fields a little bit.
And then stadium seating for the parents and children on the side of the dugouts, as you can see on the image.
I have a question.
Sure. This is called to the public. Actually, we don't. I can start clarification.
Simple question. Have you had the opportunity to meet Dr. Madrano yet? Okay, cool. Okay, thank you. That's nice. Thank you. But by the way, that's a very generous offer, so thank you.
Ms. Garcia, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. You asked, what was your question?
They had an opportunity to meet Dr. Madrano yet, and I stated that would be nice. And I also thank them for their generosity. Thank you for thinking of us.
Thank you.
So whatever our next steps are, let us know and we'll go ahead with that.
Certainly, we will have, what we are able to do is provide a directive to our superintendent so that if you could, we have your contact information so we can begin there this is kind of done differently. So, but we'll provide, just make sure he's got your contact information so that we're able to follow up and talk with you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. And let's see, hope I don't. Then I've got Laurie Richards, CEA, Carpet Education Association. Is my mic on? So we have, for those in the audience and those watching, we do have our CEA President, Laurie Richards, to present during call to the public.
Good evening, Board President, members of the Governing Board, and the Superintendent. My name is Laurie Richards. I'm the President of CEA, speaking representing our members and employees of our district. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I am here to implore you, respectfully but urgently, to postpone any decision on moving our district to a 5-day school week until a thorough financial planning has occurred and a comprehensive strategic plan has been completed. Right now, the data we do have is clear. The majority of our parents and the majority of our staff want to remain in a 4-day school model. That alone should give us pause. In a time where districts are struggling to retain both families and educators, disregarding the voices of every person who makes our school function is not only unwise, it is dangerous. Equally concerning is that we don't know the financial implications of this transition, and they have not been fully researched. We are already a district operating in a deficit. Year after year, rising insurance costs have eaten away at any additional funding we receive. To even consider a major operational shift without clear, accurate financial forecasting and a clear strategic plan is frankly irresponsible. And the consequences of this is going to go far beyond a budget line item. If this change drives away staff, as many are already indicating it will, we risk placing students in classrooms with unqualified or long-term substitute teachers. We risk losing experienced educators who are the backbone of student achievement, and we risk putting our schools in a position where rifts, school closures, or repurposing campuses become the only remaining options. Let's be honest, we have already been losing ADM year after year. Families today have choices. If parents feel their input is not valued, or if this change results in schools being closed or students being moved to an unfamiliar campus, they will not stay. They will choose one of the many charters in our area, and not because of charter advertising, but because their voices were ignored. We have seen this play out before. When Atkinson was repurposed to the Gifted Academy, many of the families who were supposed to transition to other schools never arrived. They left the district altogether. That is not speculation, it is history. If our goal is truly to increase student achievement, rushing through a decision of this magnitude is not the way to get there. Unintended consequences are still consequences, and in this case, they could lead to a mass exodus of both staff and students, the very opposite of what we're striving for. Board members, superintendent, it is reckless to proceed without a clear understanding of the financial cost, the operational impact, and the community response. This decision cannot be undone once families leave, once staff resigns, and once schools close. I urge you to please hit pause. Do the research, build a strategic plan, engage the community and staff who have consistently supported our schools. And then, only then, once we have the full information and broad support, consider whether a change to the 5-day week is truly the best path for our students. Our district and our students cannot afford the price of rushing this decision. Thank you.
Thank you. And next I have Ms. Bernardina Rodriguez. Bernardina Rodriguez. This is regarding the SFE contract. There's a red button. Just press it, it'll turn red. On the right, in the front.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm nervous, but I just wanted to share my thoughts with our families. Good evening. My name is Bernardina Rodriguez, and I am a kitchen manager in the district. Since we partnered with SFE, we've been received consistent training, real support in all ways. Our food has improved, and we follow district food safety standards every single day. Please let them finish the contract. They are in the 4th year. They can go back to their betting options. Why cancel at this point when it's almost done? Because we asked when they came to us to cancel, and we were told it will cost a lot of money. So at this point, just let them finish. Then next time, who is in charge to read the contracts, make sure they make good decisions before taking any contracts to our district for the good of our families and for our Cartwright district. Thank you.
Next, I have Ms. Henrietta Anderson regarding the Wake Up Club Homestead Block Watch.
Good evening, boards, and good evening, teachers and faculty and everybody else. My question to you guys is, we have had a partnership with Cartwright School District for many, many years. You guys have decided not to sign the block watch grant and did not let me know. You took away speed humps. You took away trees. You took away different things from my community and did not let me know. And I need to know why. You are taking away programs from my community, my kids, that you guys do not pay for. The City of Phoenix Police Department pays for that. So I need an explanation tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. And I have Ms. Dora Naminava Amaya. Ms. Dora Nava.
Good evening. Hello, everybody. My name is Dora Nava, and I am a former employee of the district. And I was a Spanish teacher 5 years ago. I learned some things, and I would like to provide you with this letter personally. May I approach?
Okay.
Thank you. So instead of me using the rest of the 2 minutes, if you would please read it.
I mean, this is a call to the public.
I mean, you don't have to read it. You can read it silently.
I understand what it's regarding, and we are doing call to the public. So because we're not able to engage in a conversation about it, it's not on the agenda. What I will do is direct it to the superintendent to follow up with you.
Thank you so much. I will wait for a response.
Just make sure if you're, please leave your contact information. Okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And we've got next up Ms. Michelle Saldana. And this is regarding the discussion of going from 5 to 4 days reading.
All right, Acting Superintendent Mr. Watson, Board President Hernandez, and board members, thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Michelle Saldana, and I am a 6th grade math teacher at Holiday Park. I want to speak for the many teachers who are very frustrated and disappointed with this discussion to go back to 5 days. I listened and heard what our leader said at the parent roundtable, and something big stuck out to me when it was said that 96% of our students cannot read, write, or do math. I am curious where that data is coming from. If 96% of our kids can't read, write, or do math, how are we a B district? When I pulled the recent 2025 AASA data, it says in Cartwright, 23% of our students passed ELA and 17% 8% passed math at grade level. Neither of those add up to 4% passing. I want to also point out at my school, our 6th grade had 45% passing ELA and 36.7% passing math, which are both higher than the state with only 40% in ELA and 29% in math. Now, I'm not saying 23% and 17% are numbers to write home about, but I also know that saying 96% of our students can't read and write or do math is stretching the truth. I also heard almost every parent support a 4-day week. I also heard them say how they want good teachers by keeping the 4 days. They want their kids to be successful, and so do we. I 100% agree that we need to be in a district. As a very competitive person, I also want that. And I also understand the community that we work in. At Holiday Park, we did get that A that you strive for. And although it may not have solely been because of proficiency, for the past 3 years, our school has earned 50 points in growth. The state scores are not solely based on proficiency, which speaks to the inclusivity that our district is currently promoting. We push our students with rigor and hold them to high expectations while also building and fostering relationships and meeting them where they come to us at. If you send us back to 5 days, over 40% of our staff plans to leave and find work elsewhere. And honestly, there goes our A. Cartwright has recruited some of the best teachers due to the 4-day work week. In November, I got a student from a nearby charter school who came to me telling me he had no math teacher for the entire year. He's only had subs. I fear this might be our future. We are already in a teacher shortage in our country, and our students need the best. My team has worked together for 6 years, and we truly have been able to push our students every year, and we feel confident working together and have the same expectations. Holiday Park also has very little turnover, and that helps our professional development and is focused on how to move our students academically rather than starting over every single year. Although our proficiency is not where it should be, we know that, and it's constantly something that we are working towards improving. I truly hope that you take a step back and reconsider your push for the 5 days and focus on teacher retention and meeting our students where they are. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Saldana. Ms. Saldana. Ms. Saldana. Ms. Saldana. Ms. Saldana, I have a follow-up question just for clarification. You mentioned some data, okay? You mentioned some data. Was that the proficiency? That you mentioned?
Yes.
What is the proficiency?
The proficiency is for AASA. Is that what you're saying?
The proficiency, because there's a difference between the letter grade and proficiency rate.
So our proficiency was at, for our school in 6th grade, it was at 45% and then 36.7% proficient on both the math and the reading assessment, either proficient or highly proficient when they took the assessment at the end of the year.
I have not heard that data before. Thank you for that. But we have a presentation, but I wanted to make sure I had the numbers correct.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
And it is higher than both state average in 6th grade.
Right. Thank you.
Holiday Park.
Well, they're above the state average.
Yeah. They're our A school.
No proficiency. There's a difference. But thank you. And then next I have Cecilia Moreno, textbook adoption regarding, textbook adoption. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Cecilia Moreno, taxpayer, district resident, and concerned citizen. Recently, I heard Mrs. Hernandez call me an activist. If an activist is someone that fights for the rights of students, staff, and taxpayers, I wear the badge with honor. Once again, I have questions and comments, but I have given up on getting a response from Dr. Etheridge. Therefore, my questions and comments are for Mrs. Cantu, since she's always got questions regarding expenditures and procedures. Last meeting, Mr. Marco Reese and Ms. Jessica Larson presented textbook adoption. Ms. Cantu seemed to be totally unaware of the process, which seemed to be, to me, extremely rare since she has been on the board for about a decade. Textbook adoption is a rigorous because textbooks need to be aligned with state curriculum so that teachers can align their lesson plans accordingly. Yesterday, I was at the district office and had the opportunity to review the textbooks selected for the adoption. I went through each grade level, and to my recollection and standards, they aligned. I was especially pleased that they used phonetic reading strategies. Adoption consists of a panel of parents, teachers, and administrators. This is also usually the process for hiring a superintendent. Mr. Watson was appointed as acting superintendent without being vetted by a panel of teachers, administrators, and parents. So my question to Ms. Cantu is, why were you so oblivious of the process of textbook adoption? When I was teaching, my textbook adoption was every 5 years because I taught business and Microsoft Office, and technology changes quickly. By the third year, my textbooks did not align with the software I was teaching. Therefore, I needed to adapt my lessons to the newest software. Change was constant. So I commend Mr. Reese and Ms. Larson for having the foresight to look to the future and adopt textbooks that will encompass both the lower and upper grades. Much luck to you both. Another question for Ms. Cantu: why do you always question expenditures and not taxpayer money being misspent on administrators put on leave without due process? I need you to question how the district can absorb this expense. On another note, at the last board meeting, Mr. Watson presented that there are psychologists at each school. I would like to thank the prior administration and prior board members for their commitment to the mental health of Cartwright students. Also, why would you, as board members and administrators, attempt to make a change like going back to a 5-day week? Teachers stay at Cartwright because it is a perk that other districts don't offer. According to State Superintendent Tom Horn, more than 1,000 Arizona teachers have left the profession since July, with 763 resigning before the 2025-26 school year began. This is on top of the 4,000 positions being covered by long-term substitutes or part-time methods, as well as nearly 1,400 that are currently vacant due to Arizona's ongoing teacher shortage. In closing, the questionable, embarrassing, illegal activity brought about by the board member at Maryville High School and the fact that we have an illegally appointed superintendent, I continue to call for the resignation, and I yield.
Thank you, Ms. And let's see. And next we've got Mr. Donald Wood. Potential change from 4 to 5 day school week.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Watson. I'd like to take a moment tonight to express my thoughts regarding the possible change from a 4 to a 5 day week. Ben Franklin is often credited with a quote that seems to sum up conversations surrounding this potential change. If you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. During conversations regarding the possible change, I've repeatedly heard multiple questions and concerns from faculty across the district. Why are we looking at this? How will this look? What is the plan? While these may seem like simple questions, they are some of the most critical and broad questions that have not been answered. It seems odd to consider making such a substantial change without having these questions resolved well in advance of making a decision impacting every student, parent, and employee of the district. For nearly a year, anyone who has attended or watched our board meetings has heard valid comments regarding fiscal responsibility. This is a critical charge of the governing board, and when properly overseen, protects everyone from facing the negative consequences we see occurring in other districts across the state. With that in mind, I'm concerned about the fiscal stability and prudence of this potential change. Last spring, the district communicated with committees, families, and campuses efforts to cut millions of dollars in spending, getting us to a more financially secure place. Now, barely 6 months later, we're considering a change that will potentially cost $6 million without having a plan as to what that will look like and how it will be rolled out. There have been no conversations regarding where this money will come from in committees I'm a part of or aware of or with the greater district community. In light of declining enrollment, recent significant district cuts in spending and positions, and no explanation of potential additional funding in the future, the thought of spending an additional $6 million to add a day is deeply concerning. Across the district, our campuses do amazing work to grow and improve for the benefit of our students and community. For students, teachers, and campuses, attaining specific educational outcomes and achievements can often feel like hitting a moving target. Consistency is a key in the ongoing growth and achievement. However, the challenges presented by this change will likely be disruptive and extensive, landing squarely on the campuses to manage and problem solve in a very short period of time. The potential for mistakes, loss of district staff, loss of students and families, and a decline in the achievement is something difficult to estimate, but likely to occur. Finally, the term research is used with increasing frequency by those inclined to cite it as an effort to attain their goals. However, the findings of research are frequently not transferable from one set of circumstances to another with the same or even similar effect. In essence, what works in our neighboring districts will not necessarily work in Cartwright. The same holds true for data. Educational data is filled with complexities requiring careful and detailed analysis to accurately understand and to make effective and informed decisions resulting in meaningful outcomes. When understood and used well, amazing things occur. When not understood and overly generalized, significant mistakes are made. This is where it appears we are at the moment, considering a significant decision without a plan, using research and data that is overly generalized or incorrectly interpreted, failing to acknowledge the ongoing progress and achievements within our district, and ignoring the voices from across the district that appear clear in what is wanted. These factors potentially lead to one outcome: planning to fail. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Susan Lemeron regarding SFE contract.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Susan Lemeron, and I have been a kitchen receiving manager for the past 11 and a half years here at Cartwright. I was part of the committee who selected SFE to join Cartwright. It was a tedious task, but they were the best choice out of all the other companies because of their dedication to make meals healthier and tastier. Because of this, students have enjoyed the scratch-made meals. Lunch participation has risen since this change. Not pre-cooked, frozen, just heat up and serve like food service used to do prior to SFE coming to Cartwright. SFE has been an amazing support system, monthly training for all staff members, and are always helpful when issues come up. I feel that my team and I are extremely valued for the care that we provide our students and staff. That is because of SFE. If food service was to go back to Cartwright, I feel the food quality, support, and participation would be lacking as it was before SFE joined the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Jacqueline Marchetti. Jacqueline Marchetti.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, my name is Jacqueline Marchetti. Good evening, Governing Board President, Governing Board members, Mr. Watson, the executive team, and members of the audience. I am here tonight to follow up on the staff roundtable discussion. During that discussion, we were told several times that we only represented a small portion of the Cartwright staff and that we would be receiving a survey to be able to give more formal input. So I think it was last week when we got the survey, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I'm not sure. I was really disappointed to see that it was not asking for our feedback, but only asking for our intent to return based on the decision of the board. So I was really hoping to come here today and respectfully request that you send out a second survey to actually collect the staff's input and not just whether or not we're going to return based on one decision. And that is all.
Thank you. And next I have Mr. Brandon West regarding a contract.
Makes its own right. Never mind. Good evening, Governing Board President Hernandez, members of the board, Mr. Watson, and Dr. Medrano. I am Brandon West, and this is my 29th year in this Cartwright School District, serving in multiple capacities, and the most recent being the proud assistant principal of Spitalny STEAM School. I stand before you tonight to make a humble request. In December of 2022, I applied for the position of assistant principal, interviewed, and was offered the position by Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources at the time, Mr. Jeff Stratman. I remember the moment when he called me to offer me the position. During our conversation, he said, "I don't want you to take the assistant principal position and make less than you are currently making as a classroom teacher. I am going to place you on the salary schedule as assistant principal, step 6. I accepted this offer. My contract was signed by the governing board and myself. Let's fast forward to December 2024. All administrator contracts for school year 2025-26 in Cartwright were taken to the governing board, signed, and when I was sent my contract, I signed it. One that honors years of service and the district's word. On April 28th of this year, I got a visit from HR with a letter from Mr. Watson that said, in many words, during an audit, there was an error found in my contract and subsequently reducing it in the amount of $10,000 for the school year 25-26, less than the contract I signed in December 2024. After many meetings of appeal with Mr. Watson and HR, Mr. Watson ultimately said that it will be reduced and the new contract will be sent to me. When I received the new contract in July of this year, my legal counsel advised me not to sign it because I already have a legally binding contract that was signed by both parties in December 2024. Despite this, Cartwright uploaded the invalid contract, the version of lesser value that I did not sign or accept, into the system, even though it was never approved by me. In September of this year, my name appeared on the governing board agenda under the title Settlement. I want to clarify that I am not seeking a settlement, nor do I have any desire for conflict or retaliation of any kind. This is not a settlement. This was about integrity. We tell our scholars every day that integrity means doing what is right, even when it is difficult, even when no one is watching. A contract is not just paperwork. It is a commitment made in good faith by all parties. It represents trust, responsibility, and a promise to honor one's word. At the very same governing board meeting, President Hernandez and Ms. Cantu motioned and approved to remove this agenda item from the consent agenda. Ms. Cantu requested it be discussed during an executive session. To my knowledge, this hasn't happened yet. The contract I am currently being paid under is not valid without my signature. The original contract, the one reviewed, agreed upon, and signed by all parties, is the only contract that reflects integrity. I respectfully request that you approve to reinstate my original contract from December 2024, signed by both the governing board and myself. That is a contract that should be honored. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. West. Just for clarification, you mentioned that you were awarded a contract. I'm sorry, you said by Mr. Stratman.
Correct.
Mr. Stratman. Was he our board attorney?
At that time, no. He was serving as the role of Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Okay. Thank you. Just for clarification. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. You're right. Your contract is binding. Thank you for that.
And we are not able to discuss items that are not on the agenda, but this is a reminder that we are in call to the public. And I've got next Ms. Emily Crago regarding the 4 or 5 day school days.
Button on the right.
There we go. Okay. Good evening, Madam President, board members, superintendent, staff, and families of Cartwright. My name is Emily Crago, and I'm a proud special education teacher in the LF5 program at Holiday Park in my 13th year. I am here today as a grateful and concerned teacher. I can't believe what the past 13 years have held for my teaching career. Never did I think I would have a flood day because of too much rain, go to the Capitol and use our collective voice for Red for Ed, teach virtually through a pandemic, teach hybrid coming back from a pandemic, and teach 4 days and have Fridays as training, and now teach and work 4 days a week. I'm proud to say I worked with Cartwright and in Cartwright through all of these crazy changes. Moving forward, I'm here to continue to advocate for the 4-day work week for staff as well as students. I come to this with 2 points of view. One as a mom and one as a teacher. As a mother of one and one on the way, the 4-day work week has been amazing for our families. I always joke that Monday through Thursday is fast and furious. But then I'm able to fit in appointments and enjoy family time Friday through Sunday. I will say that with this schedule, I have not missed any class time with my students because I'm able to schedule all my appointments on Fridays. I am truly a better wife, mom, and teacher because of the 4-day work week. The second point of view I would like to speak through is the lens of a special education teacher. As an LFI teacher in the district, an LFI teacher trainer in our curriculum, and a CPI trainer, I can say in the past years, the retention of quality, and I say it again, quality special educators in Cartwright has gone up, and it really shows. In the 13 years I have taught at Holiday Park, we have gone through at least 25 instructional assistants. Since going to the 4-day model, we've had the same 6 instructional assistants in LFI for the past 2.5 years. These ladies come to work every day ready to work, and it has made training more effective as we are able to keep the same team. My last point is from a financial point. I pose these questions to our superintendent, board, and to our main money man, Derek. You knew I was going to call you out. I love Derek. We can always have an open conversation, and I call him the Dave Ramsey of Cartwright. Recently in the news, Phoenix Union, the high school district that we feed into, is cutting $20 million for their budget for both this year and next school year. This is a scary stat, as to my knowledge, going back to the 5 days would be adding an additional cost of at least $1.5 to $6 million. What cuts will be made to make up for the additional cost? Will making up those costs further overwhelm our class sizes or reduce the much needed support for our staff? Thank you very much for your time, and have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you. And with that, I'd like to move that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Ms. Cantu, do I have a second? What is your name? Hold on. Let me. Who did you give that to? I didn't skip any. I have 13 people that signed one, and they're all. I do have Eric Rogers on here. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. It must have been stuck to the first one. Thank you. Okay. No, it was probably stuck to the first one.
Hello, there we go. Testing. Okay, welcome everybody. Hello. Good evening, members of the board, acting superintendent, neighbors, community members, dedicated staff that are gathered here tonight. My name is Eric Rogers. I'm an educator. I'm a counselor. I'm a therapist. I'm also a father of a daughter that goes to Heather Bray School District. I stand before you to recall a moment not so long ago when our district's leaders made decisions by truly listening to teachers, parents, the community that entrusted them with our children's education. I ask you to recall when those decisions were grounded in data, not politics, transparency, not personal agendas. Many of us can recall why the 4-day school week was adopted in the first place. It wasn't a whim or an experiment. It was the result of careful analysis, open discussion, and a shared desire to improve outcomes for our students. And it worked. Our district saw meaningful academic gains. Letter grades rising while neighboring districts slipped. Families found balance. Staff retention improved. The community rallied behind a model that proved itself year after year. We can recall the pride that we felt when our district became an example others sought to study. We can recall how unified we were around a schedule that respected students, educators, and the realities of family life. But today we're asked to pretend none of that matters. Without legitimate justification, and without the very listening that once defied this board, the superintendent and board president now push to upend a system that is successful, popular, backed by years of evidence. Their decision was not driven by data, nor by the voices of the people they serve, but by political ambition and personal agenda. And that, I believe, is something we will also recall. Not as a moment of leadership, but as a turning point when the trust between district leaders and the community was fractured. So tonight, I ask every parent, every educator, every community member to recall your own power. Recall that accountability is not optional for public servants. Recall that when leaders stop listening, the public has a lawful and democratic remedy. And therefore, let this moment be together put out a clarion call. If our leaders refuse to honor the will of the community, then the community must move to recall those leaders, not out of anger, but out of duty. To our children, to our schools, and to the future we all share. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Cantu, with that, I have, you're about to, a second for the consent agenda as presented.
Actually, Madam President, I have a question before we move on that motion. And it's number 8, the approval to increase the annual expenditure amount authorization for Renaissance Learning for school year. And the question is for Mr. Watson. It says that we might pay for those increases out of Capital One.
I believe in the board content it says Title I and or capital funds will be used.
Okay. I have the floor. And I will be very, how do I say it, concerning if that is paid out of capital, because, you know, capital is not an account that increases. Like, we don't get refunds for that. We don't get the money back, and we have to save it for.
Madam President, Governing Board Member Cantu, I will identify something more specific and be able to provide you with more details.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. That was my question, and with that, I second.
I have a question. I have a question, and I stated that prior to Ms. Cantu. My question is for Acting Superintendent Mr. Watson. Would you please let us know what the rationale is paying Dr. Jacob Chavez and Zeke OJ $10,000 each? As are they your consultants?
as an acting superintendent, I don't know what they're being paid for.
Madam President, Governing Board, we have several contractors and consultants that work with the district. I'll be able to provide you a list and be able to provide you with that information.
Mr. Watson, you are in charge of this.
It's not on the agenda.
Mr. Watson, we are speaking to this. It is on the agenda, Lydia. Mr. Watson, would you please provide the rationale, since this is your job?
Ms.
I'm
Garcia,
waiting for an answer from Mr. Watson.
Ms. Garcia, you have been provided with an answer.
I have
and
not
with
been
that,
provided
I
with an
will
answer.
proceed. Thank you
Mr.
for your
Watson
question.
does not answer
And we will
questions.
proceed with
Mr.
a roll call
Watson,
vote.
would
And I believe
would you
did
please
vote?
provide the rationale of why we are paying, this district is paying $10,000 to Mr. Jacob Watson.
Thank you.
And Lydia and Christine, please make a note that Lydia Hernandez, board president, and once again is impeding my discussion, not allowing me to speak. I want this to reference for future agenda items. Actually, I want this for future reference. Please.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia.
Are you going to
And
allow
I am
Mr.
moving
Watson
forward
to
because
speak?
we do have a motion that's been
Are
seconded,
you going
and I
to
need to
allow
proceed.
Mr. Watson to speak?
He
Lydia?
did provide you
No,
with
he
a
did
response.
not. No, he did not. It
I am
was-
not going to belabor this. You
we
can do
we
as you
already
will.
know what the
I will
rationale
proceed
is.
with the roll call
Lydia
vote.
Hernandez, we want
Ms.
to know
Hernandez,
what
how
the
do you vote?
rationale is of hiring
I vote
Dr.
aye. Thank
Jacob
you.
Chavez.
And point of order, Ms. Romero, how do you vote? No vote. Okay. Ms. Garcia, how
now
do you
you're
vote?
impeding a vote from our
I am
elected
asking,
official,
how
Jenny.
do you vote?
Would you please also document that Lydia Hernandez, board president, is not allowing Jenny to cast a vote?
How
want to speak.
you vote? I would like that documented. I will not belabor the issue. You have been provided with a response, and I am being very considerate here. So, if you would just cast your vote,
I will abstain.
Please let the record reflect there's an abstention. And Ms. Garcia, how do you vote?
I'd like to explain my vote.
Certainly.
I have requested that Mr. Watson be transparent and answer my question, which is why is Dr. Jacob Chavez and Zeke OJ being paid $10,000 a month? Since April to November, they have again received $160,000 above and beyond, as I mentioned before, what the principals are getting. So, what is the rationale of them receiving that money? Can you please answer that question?
Mr. Watson, you provided a response. We do have consultants, as he stated. As regarding your amount,
consultants to whom?
Consultants to the school district.
To the what? In what form? What fashion? Are they here full time? Because that looks like full time schedules, salary schedules.
No, Ms. Garcia, but we can.
Do they have an office here?
Love
Are they
to
working
entertain
full
the
time?
conversation. But your vote. We are on a vote, and I will not belabor that vote or
before
delay
I
the vote.
cast my vote, I would like to request transparency and ethical practices. We'd like to know what those consultants are doing. How is it that they are earning or receiving $10,000 a month?
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
And my vote is no.
So
My
please
vote
let the
is
record
no.
reflect that there is a no vote, and I vote aye, and motion carries. Moving on to the next item. This is regarding, make sure I'm on action item F, discussion and possible action regarding non-renewal of the fourth year renewal, which is actually the fifth year contract with Southwest Food Services. I move that we non-renew the contract with SFE and approve the job description for Director of Food Service. Ms. Cantu, do I have a second?
I second, and I vote aye.
Thank you, Ms. Cantu. And Ms. Hernandez, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Ms. Garcia, Ms. Romero, how do you vote?
I vote no.
Vote no. Thank you. And Ms. Garcia, how do you vote?
I'd like to explain my vote.
Thank you, ma'am. Please proceed.
Yes, SFC has, they have been providing quality food for our scholars and for our staff. And I believe that going backwards is going to literally go backwards. And so what I'm hearing is that you're okay with feeding our kids processed foods versus fresh foods. So is this decision that you're making about you, or is it about our kids? That's what I would like to know. And with that, I vote no.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. And I vote aye. Please, motion carries. And moving on to reports and summary of current events, Mr. Watson.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President, Governing Board. This week, Harris Elementary School celebrated its first Literacy Week. As part of their ongoing efforts to inspire every student to be a strong reader, the school welcomed guest readers. And we want to thank you and thank Mary Garcia for the kind invitation to read to our students. I actually wasn't able to make it. I was scheduled to be there today, but other things took me away. But I appreciate that, and I will get there. And I really appreciate Mr. Victor Rodriguez for going in my stead to support those kids and to represent the district and read to those students. And then also, I do want, before we head into the week before break, I just want to thank all of our teachers for your hard work, for the good work that you're doing throughout the district to support our teachers and our staff. I want to thank CEA in particular. We know that this is a challenging time for many families, not just in Cartwright, but throughout Arizona, the nation, the world, who are looking for opportunities and support, especially during this holiday season, here in Maryville, sometimes more than most. And so we thank CEA for being able to support our family center in that way, and thank you for doing that. And thank you for our teachers who are looking after our kids this time of year. I have been on many campuses and seen gifts and different things, and sitting in offices and classrooms that will be provided to our kids. So thank you for that hard work and your support. And then also, Madam President, if I may, in a few moments, I'm going to do a little presentation on the 4 and 5 day thing, but I do want to just thank everybody who came to call to the public. I know it takes a lot of courage to come and stand up and express your opinion and how decisions are impacting you. And so I really do appreciate that, and we hear your voices, we listen to you, and I appreciate you taking the time to come and do that.
Thank you. And with that, it's we're at item H, other information discussion items, and we've got number 1, an update on the English Language Arts ELA request for proposal, and we've got, I believe, Ms. Jessica Larson, Phyllis, and Vicky. One of them.
It'll just be me.
Okay,
this evening. So good evening, excuse me, Board President Hernandez, Superintendent Watson, governing board members, and everyone watching. Excuse me. Some of this information might be a little redundant, but just want to make sure for everybody who did not hear the information last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever we had our last meeting, are able to get that. So we are in the process of reviewing multiple resources for the textbook adoption in the area of English language arts. Committees of highly qualified personnel reviewed a number of vendors of ELA textbooks and determined our 2 options that meet the high expectations and excellence that we expect as a school district. The committees and governing board have come to consensus for 2 ELA vendors. Both ELA vendors have provided digital access and physical access to the materials. So the physical access to the materials is in the main lobby of the governing board or of the Cartwright School District office. And then the digital materials are also posted on our website. And Mr. Rodriguez did send out some information on Parent Square, so that we can resend that to those who may need it. This is a really critical, important decision that we're making for our school district. And so we really want to encourage everyone who has maybe not had an opportunity to look at those resources, please take the time. I know a few people have mentioned that they've been able to review the resources. I personally would look at them physically, but everybody has their own preference. And that is where we are at with our ELA adoption.
Thank you. Ms. Cantu, I believe there might be a question.
Ms. Larson, before you leave. One, just for clarification, last time we adopted some material, I asked if how long have we not had or have not adopted? And,
so for ELA specific?
Yes.
So for ELA, our adoption was up 2 years ago. So we are now 2 years over that timeline, and it did not meet some required criteria. So it was time for us to take a look at new materials.
So when I asked about when was the last time we had adopted it, they said 20 years. So I was kind of concerned because that's not how our students learn. Either I receive the right or the wrong information, the response at that moment. That's where I become a little concerned when we're adopting new material. Not because I don't know what it means to adopt new material for students, but I want to make sure that that particular program material, it works. Because I don't want the district to pay big amounts of money for material that is not going to impact their students. So just for clarification, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to see the results of that material.
Us as well. So thank you. Please go and take a look if you have not yet. Have a good day.
Thank you. And item number 2 under H, other information discussion items, update regarding the 4-day. Mr. Watson.
Yeah, Madam President, Governing Board, I committed at this Governing Board meeting to present some information around a potential transition to a 5-day work week. I would just appreciate it if everybody just kind of, let me get through the presentation. I know that there are a lot of strong feelings in lots of different directions, and I appreciate that. This is a sensitive subject. That's why we're bringing it in a hopefully a respectful way at this Governing Board meeting, and we're working to be as transparent as possible in how these decisions get made. And I think in this presentation, there's a little something for everybody. So if you, I'll be pretty candid. I think a 5-day school week is better for kids. I'll just tell you that. This is not my decision to make. This is ultimately going to be on the Governing Board, and I will provide input, obviously. But our Governing Board is sensitive to the community, and they should be. And so, and like I said, there's a little something for everybody in here. If you support 5 days, there will be something for you. We're going to share towards the end of this presentation teacher data in response to the questionnaire that we sent out. When we sent out that survey, the last section allowed for comments. So people could write whatever they wanted in there. So when you use Google Gemini, it gives you some AI summaries. And so we actually just kind of use the summaries to share, to kind of join all of the comments together. And we would like to make all those comments public. I think it's good to hear. I think it's good to read just all the different points of view. We just want to make sure that there's not any student identifiable data in there before we share some of those comments. All right, with those considerations, work week considerations. So I was recently asked at a PAT meeting. That's the professional advisory team. Why are we even having this conversation? And we're having this conversation because of student achievement. We want to make sure that we're doing right by our kids. Just one other thing, I will make this PowerPoint publicly available. I have a couple quotes in here from some sources, and I'll make sure all of that is available to anybody who wants it. So student achievement. That's why we're having the conversation. And in our most recent state test, we had 8,728 students take the most recent state test. That isn't all of our students, because not all of our students take the test. We actually have more or less 12,000 students in Cartwright. And we're going to look at some of the data around the test. And in case you're not familiar with it, I know we have some parents and who might not be professional educators, but are professional parents, which is absolutely a lot of work. So we have these two categories, highly proficient and proficient. And students who score proficient or highly proficient, according to the Arizona Department of Education, are likely to be ready for the next grade or course. These two categories are considered passing on the state assessment. And these are our most recent numbers for Cartwright. And we talk a lot about percentages. And we have 4% as a district who are highly proficient. We have 19% who also are proficient. And also, I think it's really important to look at whole numbers. Because sometimes when we look at percentages, it obfuscates the fact that these are individual kids. And so we have 349 students who are testing highly proficient. And this, by the way, this data came from the Arizona Department of Education's data warehouse, data website. And then we have 1,658 kids, or roughly 19%, who are scoring proficient. Now, partially proficient or minimally proficient. So, according to the Arizona Department of Education, students who score partially proficient are likely to need support to be ready for the next grade or course. And students who are minimally proficient means a student has only minimal understanding of grade level content and is highly likely to need significant support to be ready for the next grade level, indicating a need for intervention. And these are the number of our students who are minimally proficient and partially proficient. So we have 1,396 kids who are partially proficient, and that is not passing on the state test. And I would like to say something about the state assessment. I completely understand that it's a test, and it doesn't measure everything we expect in a kid. We expect a lot more than that, and it's not necessarily fair that we just identify a kid by a number on one test throughout the year, and I don't think we should. Now, that being said, this is how the state of Arizona compares the work that we're doing to other schools and school districts throughout the state. So just to be clear. And so we have 5,324 children who are minimally proficient. And just as a reminder, minimally proficient means a student has only a minimal understanding of grade level content and is highly likely to need significant support to be ready for the next grade level, including a need for intervention. And we know that, I'll catch up on my own notes here. This is just our most recent essay math percent passing. And it varies by school district, or it varies by school. But we do see that we have some schools who are in single digits, some who are performing better than others. Shout out to Sunset. You've got 47% there. Thank you. Holiday Park, you guys are an A school. Congratulations and thanks for your hard work. We really appreciate that. In no particular order, I just pulled out a couple. I actually gave parts of this presentation at a PAC meeting the other day, and I included some slides that I might not normally include, but because that I shared them at the PAC meeting, I wanted them to stay in here in part just for consistency. And so we're going to see just 4 campuses, picked at random. There's some good teachers doing some solid work on some of these campuses, so thank you. And so at Palm Lane, we had 226 students not pass the state assessment, and 183 of those kids were minimally proficient. This is Spitalny, this is Tomahawk, and this is Cartwright. I don't want to necessarily dwell on these scores. But I do want to say, I threw this in here, okay? This is me who thinks 5 days is better for kids. Once again, it's not my decision. It's going to be the board's. We will see some data that is concerning about maybe a decision to go to 4 days, especially when it comes to staff retention. So we'll talk about that. So Barack Obama, he was actually on March 10th, 2009, giving a speech. And this speech was actually to the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And he said that the calendar may have once made sense, but today it puts us at a competitive disadvantage. Our children spend over a month less in school than children in South Korea every year. That's no way to prepare them for a 21st century economy. That's why I'm calling for us not only to expand effective after-school programs, but to rethink the school day to incorporate more time, whether during the summer or through expanded day programs for children who need it. Now, I know longer school days and school years are not wildly popular ideas, not in my family and probably not yours. but the challenges of a new century demand more time in the classroom. If they can do that in South Korea, we can do it right here in the United States of America. And so let's just take a look at time in the classroom. So this is the number of minutes. So we took the calendar for Gilbert Public Schools and the calendar for our neighbor Alhambra Elementary School District. And so Cartwright, our students currently spend 60,540 minutes in school every year. Alhambra, they're at 6,745 minutes. Gilbert Public Schools is 68,940. And, personally for me, this is about equity. We have, students of color who need just as much support and time in school as kids in maybe wider, more affluent districts. And so when I look at this for me screams the word equity. So a student who attends Cartwright will have spent one less year in school at the end of 8th grade than students at other districts. I think that speaks for itself right there. So I'm going to share just a couple of quotes from some researchers. I think it was brought up that, hey, it's true. I can find numbers that maybe show one thing, and you can find numbers that can show another thing. I don't dispute that. Research is all over the place on a lot of things. But this is, there's some, I've spent a lot of time reading, a lot of time researching, a lot of time speaking to people in the district and out. And these are our two researchers, one out of Stanford and one out of Brown. They work together. This is, I've got the notation in there. You can go find it. They do a lot of research, and they said at a minimum, school districts should fiercely avoid reducing time in school. There's a compelling body of evidence across multiple states documenting the negative effect of 4-day school weeks that decrease total time. Districts also should adopt a low-cost policies to convert more time in school into active learning time. So one of the things in this research, and it absolutely applies to us in Cartwright, is when we do have the kids in our classroom, we need to do a better job of using the time that we have in their instruction. Absolutely. And in this research, they cite things such as time testing instead of time learning. We absolutely need to reduce the amount of time that we spend testing. Testing is important, but more important than testing is instruction. Absolutely, we need to do that. They also talk about various interruptions like phone calls and fire drills and parties. And parties are good. We want to have parties. We can't be partying all the time. So this is not a statement against birthday parties. And then this is for RAND. If you know anything about RAND, they are a pretty respectable education research group, among other things. And this is interesting. So for one thing, district leaders cannot see the harm. We found that school leaders, teachers, and parents in districts with a 4-day week reported that test scores were equal to or even better than results from before the policy was adopted. Our analysis confirmed that. And confirmed that by and large, exam results remained the same or went up year to year, even after the shorter week was adopted. But if school leaders were able to see the bigger picture of what was happening outside their district, they would realize that students in a 5-day-a-week school were progressing faster. The 4-day students were actually comparatively falling behind. In other words, their performance would have likely grown faster if their district had never adopted the 4-day week. And what I would say to that, and we're going to look at some data here in just a second, what I would say to that is I think we have some really good teachers who do some really good work. And why wouldn't we want kids to have some more really great experiences? And so I thought, hey, they said it. I wonder if we can see it maybe in action. And like I said, I'm sensitive to very broad interpretations of data. I absolutely am. But since COVID-19, we're growing. And this, I don't want to dwell on this slide right here. I actually want to, but this is a slide, once again, that I shared with the PAC parents, and for transparency and consistency, I wanted to share it here. But since COVID-19, we are growing, but less than some neighboring districts. So Cartwright, since COVID, and actually I'm going to show you this chart. without without that COVID year. And that's the one I really actually want to look at. But like I said, I shared this with parents, so I just wanted to make sure out of an abundance of transparency, I shared it publicly. And so this is the percentage of our students who are scoring proficient or highly proficient on our AASA. And like I said, this is math right here. That last one was the English language arts. But I want, this next slide, I want us to pull out that top line. Because that top line is right after COVID. Just scores were a little bit lower across the board for everybody. I don't think that was really maybe the best way to interpret this. But here's the same chart with that year removed. So we've gone from 22 to 21 to 22 to 23. So we've grown by 1 percentage point. Alhambra has grown by 4 percentage points. 4% more of their students are passing the AASA than before in 2022. No disrespect to Alhambra. I think it's a great district. I don't think their students are wildly different from ours, and I don't think their teachers are wildly better than ours. So we have to look at everything, and we should consider everything. District policies, structures, like it might not be a 4 and 5 day conversation. It might be other things. Fowler has gone down by 3%. Glendale Elementary up by 3. Isaac, they have grown by 6, and Pendergast. And then here comes math. So Cartwright, we're holding steady. We went from 17 to 19 to 16 to 17. And Alhambra, they've grown 7% more are passing in math today than were in 2021, 2022. Fowler, 2 more. Glendale Elementary, 7. Isaac, 2. Pendergast is -3 there. I took a little bit of flack from this next slide, and so this one actually did change. So I just want to compare a generic B school with a generic B school. So I'm proud of our B score. I'm proud of our B grade as a district. It really speaks to growth, and it speaks to some work that we're doing. This is not our school. This is actually a school in a close by district that is a B district and also feeds into the Phoenix Union High School district. I'm not sure there is. Oh, there we go. So this is just, like I said, a generic B school. And I just kind of want to show, and I don't mean this to be disparaging at all, but what I'm trying to show is a B isn't necessarily a B. There's a lot of ways to get a B. One includes growth. Some of it's proficiency. So when we calculate our school letter grade, 50% of our school letter grade is calculated through growth. And that includes moving students from minimally proficient to partially proficient. That's part of the growth grade. And then 25% is proficiency, and 25% is just other, kind of a hodgepodge of other things. And so this is a district where a B school where 56% of their students scored proficient or higher. And I'm trying to go to the next slide, but I'm zoomed in. Yeah. And this is just kind of an average Cartwright B school. And there are some good things going on there. And I'm absolutely kind of comparing apples and oranges a little bit, without a doubt. Not all things are equal. And I recognize that. But this is, at this school, 31 of our students scored proficient or higher. So this is our Cartwright B school. So the reason I'm sharing this is because, you know, when we talk about an A school or an A district or a B school or a B district, like I said, nothing to be ashamed of, but just our parents think certain things. When we say we have a B school, our parents think certain things about that school. And I just want them to know, that's all. And so we're looking at some different scheduling options if the governing board decides to take a vote at a future board meeting and go to 5 days. And I'd like to just talk a little bit about a journey that I've been on. I try to really find the middle ground in a lot of things. And when I first started this conversation, and I just tried to reason it out in my mind and just talk to people, I actually really like this idea of having a half day on Friday for teachers to plan. When you survey teachers generally, they talk about time to plan and time to prepare for their work. That's something that's really important. As a career teacher myself, you need time to get that work done. And what's interesting is the more I read and the more I researched, the more I thought, a 4.5 day does not do what we want it to do and give more kids more time. And so I've actually changed my mind during this whole conversation away from the hybrid. But the governing board is going to do what the governing board is going to do. But here are some recommendations that we will bring to the board. We can do no change to continue with a 4-day week. We can change and go to a 5-day schedule. We can do a hybrid, which is what I just talked about. Student remain at 4 days. Teachers return to 4.5 to 5 days. Originally, when I thought about that, we could provide some tutoring to students. There's data that shows that when you provide kids intensive tutoring and more time, they do better. And so anyway, there's the hybrid. And then we did read some teacher comments, and I had a couple conversations with the principals that included an idea around more weeks, but stay at 4 days. So, for example, we have a lot of school districts in the Valley that return to school in mid-July. If we wanted the same number of instructional minutes as Alhambra or Gilbert, we'd have to lengthen our school year about 3.5 weeks. And for example, in Chandler, they return to school July 16th. Next, I just want to talk a little bit about fiscal impact. And these are the 3 different options that were provided on the previous page. Current budget allocations, there would be no change. We'd continue with the 4-day week with our current budget. Change would require us to have some money to do that. Honestly, we have been working hard to find some money, to find some efficiencies at the district office. And we think that if the board, I don't want to say think, we're confident that if the board decides that they want to return to a 5-day schedule, we would have the money to do that. Now, people would say, what else could you do with that money? That's a legitimate question, without a doubt. Could that be better used in some other way? And as the individuals responsible for ultimately approving a budget and expenditures, that would be your decision to make. And like I said, we are looking at efficiencies in the district office and other places. We would not expect an increase in class sizes. We would not expect a reduction in staffing as a result of the decision to go to 5-day. We might see a few reductions here and there because enrollment is dropping, and just to be clear, there are some other reasons why you might be down 1 class on a campus, but we are confident that we have the money based on, like I said, some efficiencies that we've been working through to be able to make this decision. And we'd have to figure that out. Also, just to note, when we talk about our employees, we have, when we decided to go to a 4-day schedule, that did not impact teacher pay. We really got the bulk of the savings through our ESPs and other employees who went from full-time status to part-time status. And some of those employees lost benefits and had reduced salaries. And those tend to be the employees that live within the school district boundaries. Those tend to be Maryville people more than anybody else. And the bulk of that money goes to people. The bulk of that money goes to bringing those positions back, giving them insurance, having them come on as full-time employees. That's what that money gets used for. Some of that might be for buses or other things, but the bulk of that money goes into salaries and people. Okay, teacher impact. So we sent out a teacher survey, a teacher questionnaire, and we got about 950 responses back. We got 900, according to the Google form, we got 950 responses back. And this was for all employees. Yep, we made this available to all employees. We have about 1,600 employees. And we actually have slightly more than that, but 1,600 is the number of employees that we have. And so we had 950 responses. And they told us who they were. They said they're certified professional, ESPs, district administration, all other positions. Okay, so one of the questions that we asked them, if the district returns to a 5-day week, do you intend to return or do you not intend to return? And I had two of my notes.
I have a question. Excuse me, I have a question. Is that the only question you asked them?
No, Madam President, Governing Board Garcia, we asked them some more things. We'll get there.
Okay, I hope that we do have discussion because earlier, Lydia, you did not allow discussion, which violated Robert's rules. So I am looking forward to discussion. Thank you.
Ms. Garcia, if we would allow for the presentation so that we can ask our questions once we've heard all the information.
So the district returns to a 5-day week. Of the 950 people who replied, roughly 70% said that they don't intend to return. And that number is 662. I can't mouse over it because it's a PowerPoint slide, but that was 662. And just for some perspective, that's 41% of our employees. I spoke with a school district who went to 4 days, and then they decided to go back to 5 days. And when they made that transition back to 5 days, they said they lost about 25 to 30% of their employees. And so this number of 41% of employees overall, it's a little high. We know some of those people might not go, but I think that's a reasonable, I think this is an important number and an accurate number. And also to just give you another perspective, on any given year, we have roughly, I actually thought this was fascinating, we have roughly 380 employees, give or take, who just resign in a year for whatever reason. So they go to another district, they do something, I don't know why, but we have roughly 380 employees in a given year. I think the 23-24 year, for example, that year we had 363. Without a doubt, and I really do not mean this to be insensitive at all, we will lose some teachers. We will lose some good teachers if we make that decision to go. All right, if the district adopts a 4-day student week with a half day on Friday for staff, would you return? Oh, would you return? And 44% said yes, I would intend to return, and 56% said no, I wouldn't intend to return. Of the respondents, yes. I think one slide I didn't stick in there is if we have no change, it was like 99% intend to come back. I don't think we needed that slide to be in there. I could just tell you that. I don't think anybody was necessarily surprised by that. These, like I said, kind of towards the beginning, these are kind of an AI summary of kind of what all the comments were. Like I said, teachers could put anything. And honestly, I think it's healthy to read some of the comments because I would say the vast majority of comments were very respectful and gave some solid feedback and some really good ideas. They weren't just there were definitely some that, like, Steve, I hate you. What are you even doing? But there were also some that were like, hey, let's be thoughtful about this. I don't agree with going to 4 or 5 days, and here's some meaningful feedback for you. So, but then, like I said, this is an AI summary of just the comments as a whole. The majority of people who took the survey strongly prefer to keep the current 4-day week due to its benefits for mental health, work-life balance, medical appointments, and retaining qualified teachers. Many stated that they will look for employment elsewhere if it changes. Sounds like AI. Staff are concerned that a change to 5-day or 4.5-day schedule will lead to mass resignations, teacher burnout, increased staff absences, and is being rushed without clear data or financial planning. Many also view a staff-only half Friday as unbeneficial or disrespectful of their time. And a frequently suggested alternative is to use the money that would be spent on operating a 5th day to invest in smaller class sizes, hiring more instructional assistants, interventionists, and other support staff to improve student achievement within the 4-day model. And then several staff members requested a salary increase to be competitive with other districts if the work week is extended, and many highlighted the need for district-provided childcare to remain open if staff were to be required to work on Fridays. And so, Madam President, Governing Board, this is in an effort to be fully inclusive and representative of just lots of different perspectives. I feel like this was in an effort to be transparent about the conversation and to provide all the data that we can to you as a governing board to make the best decision you can at a future board meeting. Here is the information that we put together, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, if I'm able to.
Thank you. Mr. Watson. The only thing that I did not see in there that I think is important is that a few weeks ago, almost a couple of months now, one of the many conversations was with that of all principals being present. And we, it was very blatant, asked regarding resources to address challenges. To share, regardless of what they may be, what is lacking, because I feel that and this is what I shared with the principals, that there is a disconnect and a gap regarding our student academic achievement. And not having that proficiency and being lower than comparable, similarly, demographic districts like that of our own. Having gone to a 4-day work week is an incentive to improve, as well as address many other things. What I haven't seen or heard is perhaps a listing of those, a summary of what was shared back academically in terms of the resources that might be needed. Because over the last few years, there's a slide here that somebody mentioned, so maybe it might have been different responses that I see highlighted that involve intervention, tutoring, and the like, but we've had those. We've had those taking place. And if they have not been taking place, that's what I'm looking for. If we are not able to have a civil conversation to be strategic about addressing the issues that are impacting the student achievement in our district, how are we going to get to that answer? That's one of my requests moving forward. Perhaps a summary of those highlighted items that were brought up. Because to me, in general, based on my recollection of that conversation, a lot of it had to do with time. And having the public discussion with staff and parents, again, there was a lot of conversation of time, a lack of time, teachers traveling many hours to, commuting to Cartwright, that if we were to go to a 5-day it wouldn't be an option for them to continue. Stress, burnout, already, I'm taking everything into consideration. But yet I'm hearing all this. I'm listening to the comments. We met with the principals, and it wasn't just a brief conversation. Everybody had their time to be able to delve in deeply and share, hey, I could be doing better if we had the following things. But I'd like to see that in a comprehensive report so that we are being strategic, because I see a disconnect between communication based on the responses. I'm thinking to myself, I'm pushing where's PLC, the professional learning community's dialogue. It's clear that we are not on that same page, and we've had PLC since 2000. I don't know, since 2000. We figured we'd be experts at that PLC, which is a mode of communication that collaboration that allows us to be for every level, either from the principal, I could break it down, to the teachers, to coaches, everybody engaged in that same conversation and being on that same page. Based on those responses, I don't see that. So I'm still trying to get an understanding as to where we're at. All I know that will be glaring at me is that student academic achievement, that we're not at where other comparable districts are. Trying to grapple with getting a good grip and understanding of the challenges. It's easy. It's very easy to say, well, what about this? What about that? But we've got to look at that cohesively and strategically to address that, because that's going to involve, we just recently passed our budget. So we're going to be making any future changes. We need to see how we're going to divvy up what I need reference to that as a pie, so that we are allocating. I'm not willing to wait for a federal government or the state, whether they're based on where they're going to provide money or not provide it. We have a responsibility to our parents, to our constituency, to ensure that we are doing the best work that we can to ensure that their kids are able to read and write and do math at their grade level, comparable to that of the state. I'm not asking for a miracle, but something comparable. My question today is still similar to when I started this journey. The data, the resources. I've heard parents and teachers ask for better use of monies. We didn't make changes to teacher salary. In fact, if we've been on the same page with the numbers that we have shared over the last many meetings, the amount of money that we've already expended into resources. And my question is, if we've allotted $200 million to salaries at all levels, added support staff, where is that impact? And I don't see that yet. This is where I'm coming from, and I've had nobody been able to provide me with that answer, except many different responses, such as we see here. We are going to have to continue. I'm formally requesting that our staff put together that comprehensive report that talks about. I'd like to see. I'm trying to, for the best of my recollection, understand what the feedback was when provided by the principals. In order for it to be effective, I'm going to have to see it in that report to say how are we, going to begin to address those resources because they're already there.
So, Madam President, just a couple of things there is, number one is we absolutely do want to improve instruction. There is just the research. This particular research, I think, is pretty indisputable, that, kids who are behind need additional intensive tutoring. The data shows that that does make a pretty significant difference. When we're looking at our proficiency data, 77% of our students are not prepared with the knowledge they need to move to the next grade level. And so, I would say that a bulk of our school district needs that intensive time. We will be able to my staff will be able to collect that data and summarize it, especially from the from the principal meeting. We have a lot of that information already collected. We will provide that to all 5 of our governing board members. Also, I would like to just also mention one thing that I neglected to say in the conversation is a lot of our students attend Phoenix Union High School District. We've talked about Cartwright kids tend to miss school on Fridays at PXU for a variety of reasons, maybe out of habit, maybe because they are watching their younger siblings who are home during the day on a Friday. Our neighboring, the district we feed into, we've had that conversation, and they would have a preference if that matters at all. But so we will absolutely collect that information and be able to provide it to the governing board as a whole.
Thank you, and I'd like to hear some feedback for those of us that were present at any of the former presentations at our Cartwright governing board retreat and our discussions and preparation for this conversation. So it's not like it's happened in a vacuum. It has not. But I would welcome and stress to our team here at the board that if we want to truly be committed to looking for that full, comprehensive conversation that encompasses, all venues, then we have to be strategic, and not allegations don't help. That is not a solution. And what I'm looking for are solid recommendations that I have yet to hear, except in isolation. We are not a call to the public, but I will, if I may. Jesse, you have a comment? Take advantage.
Okay.
It's about your presentation directly.
No, you're great. I just do not want to reopen a call to the public to be here for. I want to respect everybody's time, right? I just want to be sensitive to that. I have no problem with you.
Okay, I'll be super fast. Thank you so much
you
for
have
this
to
opportunity.
understand the situation. But
Yes, I really do appreciate this because I do kind of have a broad lens, if you will. So the proficiency data talks that you're talking about, the study sessions with the principals, I attended those. My impression as a teacher sitting in the audience, only one here, my impression was what the principals were stating was that the issue was not a time issue. They were not saying go back 5 days. They were saying it's a professional development issue. It is the level of what your teachers are understanding, and it is how they are teaching them. The reality from a teacher perspective, okay, because I recently left the classroom and I'm now an instructional coach. We have students, this is a new era of kids. I don't think anybody has figured out how to teach the common age child nowadays. We are competitive with TikTok, social media. We have ADHD rates off the charts. While I think the 4-day schedule is amazing, I don't think that's really the conversation we should be having here. The conversation is about proficiency and how do we get there. And Mr. Watson, if you would just go back to that slide that addresses mentally proficient.
Tell me when.
Keep going. Keep going. Right here. I want to highlight, you already have it bolded, in fact, that it talks about highly likely to need significant support. Please tell me what that support looks like when you're just adding additional minutes in my classroom. I need help. I need you to compare the staffing sheets to what we have now compared to what we have then. I don't have the amount of help, and I understand that you're saying that a decreasing ADM and everything else, but when you're talking about a cost of $6 million, I am asking you to invest that in the classroom.
I am asking you for additional help. I am asking you, I am praying to you, I am begging you, help me. I can't do it all. We don't have, listen, I could go on forever. I'm going to try to sum this up. I'm at the OELS conference. It's amazing. I sat at a table today. I sat through this this presentation on a school board or a school that said they had over 50% proficiency in ELL. And I was like, hallelujah, I'm going to go attend this. I need to find out what I'm doing in my life. I need to find out what I can do for my school. They have 77 ELL students. I have 243 at my campus. I need help. And I am asking you to invest that money. I need you to think about this. If you actually lose 70% of your staff, what are you getting? The reality around us, yes, schools are closing. Yes, your applicant pool will be larger. But if you understand the RIF rubric, you understand that you are not getting highly qualified teachers. You are not getting veteran teachers. You are not getting the dual certifications. You may not even be getting SEI certified teachers. Please, I beg of you as a board, and I will meet with all of you. Trust me, I love to talk. Okay? Steve knows firsthand. I will meet with all of you. I will show you the data. I will show you anything. Because again, if we are really caring about student achievement here, it is not about the 4 versus the 5. It is about what we are doing in the time that we are spending in our classroom. And again, the principals are not shy. They can correct me if I'm wrong. What I heard from all of you was that it was a tier 1 issue. We need help. Please.
I have a thank you and thank you. Let me respond to this to the comments that were shared, because we are speaking the same language.
Absolutely.
The reason my intention as a board member has been focused on the student academic achievement, and my question has clearly been, what is it where is that miscommunication? It didn't happen overnight. This has been happening for years. It's evolved into this. But the lack of understanding didn't, the interest, I'm just asking that to happen now, which has gotten this attention. I want to make that clear. This is not something that we've created. It's taken time to get us to this point. What I'm saying is we have a process here. And so my request has been exactly what you've discussed, to come back so we can deal with that data. Now, the assessment regarding personnel, operations, the oversight of looking, the purpose for looking at all that is because in anticipation, we're nowhere near. I know that. I don't know what we were doing. I'm questioning how the sustainability was realistically not there. We could not continue without the funding that we had that COVID provided. So in that, when I make the comparison from district level staff to that of Mesa Unified, with not even less than half of the students, I don't even have words to acknowledge the amount of staff that we have in support services to provide to our different sites. So I think we've got to, if it's not focused, I would like to request, I'm just simply requesting from the board, it's not anything new, because that's the aim behind this and push behind, at least from my background, for why we're having this conversation now.
And I don't disagree, and I appreciate those comments, because honest to God, I've been asking for a strategic plan for a long time. I've heard it come out of this board's mouth numerous times. I will sit down with you. I'll do whatever you want. I truly believe there's a lot of issues, okay, a lot. I think a big issue, and we're talking about all these additional roles. We're talking about all these different things. Honestly, we've just been trying to survive. The kids are so different now, and I think anybody can address that. We are trying to figure it out. And you compare us to Alhambra, that's fine. They're 4%. They have 8,000 more minutes of instruction time. By your own data that you presented here. Is really 4% going to get, and I'm not trying to be dismissive at all, but is that really the biggest difference of losing 70% of your staff? The cost of $6 million?
Or 30, sorry, based on the data.
30%.
70% we're not, 67 point something, we're not leaving.
We're not returning.
Right.
Or did I have that
30 flip-flop.
So I read it as 70% we're not returning.
So when you,
returning.
so
30% not
So hold on. So of respondents, so of people who responded to the survey, 70% said that they would not return, and that's of the 950 people who were surveyed. And then when you extrapolate that to 1,600 employees, and every employee, we know that they would vote different ways. So we can't just assume that everybody would vote not to go not to stay at 5 days. But then that would be what did I say the percentage was?
I think it was 67 point something.
41%.
41%. So right now, of people who we have on record as saying that they would leave, as many as 41%.
41.
That's still massive.
Absolutely, it is.
It is, and what's scarier about this is that the reality of every school district in the state of Arizona is that they're suffering a severe decline in enrollment. I'm going to call it, this is now our new normal, attrition. So when you mentioned, Mr. Watson, that are regarding the capacity of what potential of, I think an average natural attrition is what, 380 or 380
employees.
Employees, the natural attrition on an average. Now, couple that with the immigration issues, with the impact that immigration is having on this district and all districts, and then the challenging of the academic achievement. You bring that all together, we lost 700. I wasn't shocked because you're putting a lot more factors into the equation. And when we were provided publicly with a proposed number of potential, what we were thinking was going to be the average, we exceeded that. And I anticipate that number is going to be even higher. So we've got to retain our kids, and we've got to be mastering, what we're here to do. And I am looking for those recommendations to ensure that we're there. It's simply, my intention was simply to force the conversation because we're not willing to have that. And then we get very emotional. How dare you? I hate, and that. This is not about that. We need to learn to engage in civil discourse so that we arrive at a solution. That's all this is. So I am very thank you for your feedback. It's far more welcoming than you guys turning around and then I say you guys telling parents, hey, she's lying. No, we've been to the same meetings, and the data, as I've heard it, I've shared. Very different meetings and very different meetings that some of our board members have not even conversations have not even been involved in. But thank you I'm committed to continue to work with this. But I think it's essential that we do have that comprehensive report of bringing all these factors together.
So just out of a request, I'm going to ask because that's who I am. I ask for everything. You're talking about staff creating this plan. Who does that include exactly?
When I say that, I'm looking at at our executive team, and there's a process. PLC, guys, it goes down to every site. It includes every principal. It includes teachers. It's got to be a comprehensive report. And I'd like to see, the principal shared the information as you stated. However, when I'm making a decision, I'm visual. I've got to be able to see it to make sure that and I want to make the best informed decision. So I have to understand that. And I would hope that the rest of our board is on that same page as well. And again, asking for everybody's commitment to investing that time in this on the conversation.
I guess I would just request that CEA be part of those conversations because we do have a wall-to-wall representation.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. We will absolutely.
We will make sure that happens.
Yeah.
Sound public record.
It is.
I've never backed away from what's public, so.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Madam,
I think Ms. There were some questions.
I have a question just for clarification. When you say that there's a lot of issues, and you mentioned no strategic planning, I'm glad you say that. But I'm sad that it was never brought to the board before. Do you have an idea how long we didn't have a strategic planning? I know because you would follow district meetings and policy to the point. Do you have an idea? You do have an idea how long we didn't have
It's a great question. The exact number, no. I think definitions of strategic plan, depending on who you talk to, are different. Because I do remember attending strategic planning sessions in the past and a disagreement about what a strategic plan was during that time. So I think it's a matter of perspective on what you perceive it to be.
So, but we don't have anything.
I'm sorry, Ms. Cantu, if I may interject. My understanding of a strategic plan that I've been requesting for several years is a comprehensive conversation that we've had in the past. We have a process that involved what we call the data dig, so we could better understand. It involved the board, so and the principals, executive team, and there were more into that in the past, principals and administrators. And we arrived at a conclusion of what the resources were needed. We implemented. That's how we made our decisions for the budget, so that we could address the issues, whether it be intervention. I've been questioning for years. How many years before I see the impact on that? Remind me of the term. I keep forgetting the term on the intervention wheel of intervention. The initiative circle. But based on some of the responses, I'm hearing we don't have tutoring, we don't have this, we don't have that. But we've been, over the years, we were making presentations. We sat here, you and I, and listened to those presentations. Mm-hmm. So to hear that that's not taking place, that's the result that I'm looking for. But going back to the strategic plan, we've undertaken those conversations. We had a board retreat so we could embark on those conversations as a board, because the board needs to decide, and I'm going to pull that out right now. There's a process involved at arriving at our vision and mission and, our priorities. The priorities have changed. So we're on that journey. So we will be producing that, but obviously this is a big part of that. So it's a comprehensive conversation where everybody's involved strategically. We have to ensure that everybody at every level, that's why I'm going back to PLC, is that we truly, if there's challenges with that, we need to know how we address that, because since I've been here, over 25 years, that we paid millions of dollars to get that going here, and training, retraining, national conferences that we've been supporting over every single year to get us to arrive at a conversation where we're not even discussing it with each other. I just like to see everybody's commitment to getting us there, but we're going to ensure the board, and I don't think there's anybody here that is not interested in helping us arrive at that result. So it's not a done deal, but thank you so much for coming forward with that, because that's part of the information.
I have something to say. It's actually quite a bit. No, well, I do have a question for you, but what I'm hearing is a lot of contradiction, because we're talking about a 5-day versus a 4-day. The consequences of moving from a 4-day to a 5-day, losing a large amount of employees, highly qualified employees, and then turning around and talking about professional development. Yes, I do agree that that's important, but when they're gone, and we're reaching at the bottom of the barrel for somebody to come and teach our kids, and we're not getting highly qualified teachers. Why? Because we have a huge shortage across the state, across the nation. So, yes, professional development is important, but what's more important is maintaining the quality of instruction of teachers and principals that we have. And I'm also speaking to all of this. I had to write it down. Okay. So lately I've heard comparisons about being made between Cartwright and districts like Paradise Valley. I understand the intention, but those comparisons don't reflect the reality of the community. This community that we serve, excuse me, I'm talking. I understand the intention, but those comparisons don't reflect the reality of the community we serve. Cartwright is unique. Our students often face challenges that higher income districts simply do not.
yet they show incredible resilience, determination, and growth. A perfect example is Holiday Park Elementary. Holiday Park Elementary earning an A rating. That's a major achievement, so congratulations. And it does deserve to be celebrated fully, not minimized or overshadowed by comparisons to wealthier districts with far more resources. And making fair comparisons requires training and certification in district level evaluation. Our acting superintendent is serving temporarily and has not been vetted or certified as a superintendent, which makes it even more important that we approach these conversations thoroughly, thoughtfully, and with right expertise. My intention is not to criticize, but to protect the dignity of our students, our educators, and our community. Cartwright should be understood on its own strengths, not measured against districts that operate under very different conditions. Now, with that being said, I do have questions regarding your presentation, and so I don't keep you very long. What are the minutes that are required by the state? Do you know? I do.
I'm not going to say the exact number. I'm not sure. No.
Okay. Do you have that?
Yeah,
answer,
Madam
Mr.
President, Ms. Garcia, I don't know off the top of my head what the required minutes are.
Okay, I do.
I would like to say one thing briefly. I don't believe that our children. I don't think. I guess how do I want to say this? Because I've heard this places. Jesse, you were there. I was in a meeting the other day when somebody said, "Hey, why are we even talking about this?" And I said, "Student proficiency or student achievement," and the comment was made, "That doesn't matter to our parents," and that was made in a meeting. Okay. And Madam President, Ms. Garcia, give me just a moment. I believe that every single child in Cartwright is able to learn at a very high level. I don't think we should use poverty as an excuse. I don't think we should use race as an excuse. Are those factors that we have to mitigate and deal with day to day? Absolutely. But I think our students in Cartwright Elementary School District deserve the Cadillac, the Lexus, the Escalade of education. And so, yes, I absolutely think we should compare Cartwright Elementary School districts to the highest performing districts in the state because I personally believe that our kids can get there.
Well, I personally believe that
Ms. Garcia, you would please allow her to listen to everybody finish and conclude their statement before moving forward.
He interrupted me first. So excuse me, Mr. Watson. So speaking to that, I mean, I hear what you just said, and I'm trying to be respectful of that because it is your opinion, not your expertise, but your opinion. So where I'm going with this is that, so we've had 2 forums where the majority of both forums were for the 4-day. This is an example. Okay. And so yet you keep talking about moving to a 5-day and what that looks like, but yet you're still comparing Cartwright to higher income districts, which is not fair. Because as I just read, this is a total disconnect with this community and you. We are not in Paradise Valley, we're not in Scottsdale, and we have families here who are resilient, who are trying to make it, who are trying to raise their children. So they may not fit into your little box of what you think is right compared to Paradise Valley or other districts. So with that being said, I think that is unfair, disrespectful to our community and to our staff. And you can say what you want all night if you want, but you are not an expert, sir. You are not an expert. And to make these kind of opinions and make assumptions is really inappropriate and unprofessional. I think that's
Ms. Cantu, if I may, and I understand that you're interjecting because why you're interjecting. And I'm going to go back, and I think we're done. Once you say you can sit down. Thank you. Ms. Garcia, I would invite you to join us. This is not a simple conversation that you have overnight. I would invite you to be present at our board retreats for conversations for professional development. I would invite you to attend the meetings that we've had regarding this conversation with our principals. That was what, maybe over at least 6 hours.
We haven't been invited, Lydia.
The board has been invited.
I never
And
received
if we
an
could,
invitation
I'm
to attend.
speaking and I've got the
and
floor.
I'm letting you know, I'm letting everyone know I have not been invited to these discussions.
It is sad that we, after so many years of serving on this board and having attended so many professional development conferences over the many, many years, that we are not able to engage in civil discourse where we can discuss data, conversations that have been shared so we can arrive at a result instead of attacks and petty bickering, politicizing on the backs of our kids in this district. I'm going to reiterate that this was not Mr. Watson, although he could agree. The reason I'm forcing this conversation is because of accountability. We are elected to show results to our constituents, the parents of this district, to ensure that we're doing the best job that we can so that their kids are able to read, do math, and succeed.
So
have
why
an
aren't we listening to
opportunity.
them? Why are we not
I'm
listening to
speaking,
them?
I
And
still
so
have the
am I.
floor.
Yes.
So that they are able to succeed. So that we are providing them with the best opportunity in life. That is very simple. The fact that we cannot address with utilizing factual data in our conversation without attacks, personal attacks that have no room to be heard at the dais. Please
personal
show
attacks?
some respect, professionalism to our constituency.
Lydia, you of all people have violated Robert's Rules of Order countless times. You have shut me up. You have beat the hell out of the gavel countless times. You have muted my microphone. You have gone above and beyond to be disrespectful and unprofessional. So please take your own advice.
Baseless accusations and petty bickering.
It's all in the minutes.
Moving forward, thank you so much for engaging us in the conversation.
Thank you, Madam President.
And we will proceed
I do
with
have
the
questions,
agenda.
Lydia. I still have questions for Mr. Watson regarding the presentation. Okay, so just so you know,
Yeah,
because
Ms.
we want to
Garcia.
be transparent.
Point of order.
Excuse me, but
Point of order.
the 4 and 5
You refer to
days-
parliamentary procedures. Point of order.
Point of order, Lydia. I still need to speak. So I want everyone to know that moving from a 4-day to a 5-day, Mr. Watson, because you don't know this information, and apparently neither does anyone else. So moving to a 5-day, we had the instruction minutes are up to 712. 712 minutes for grades 1 to 3. That's what's required on a 5-day. So for grade levels 4 to 8, it's 890 minutes. That is per the state. So when we moved from a 5-day to a 4-day, in order to achieve the same numbers, we extended the days. So the kids are learning, they're getting the same education that they would get, the same learning experiences that they would get in a 5-day schedule. I just wanted to clarify that as well. So moving from 4 to 5, based on what the majority of everyone wants, is not about them, it's about you.
Ms. Garcia.
Just
Thank
briefly,
you.
Madam President, if I may.
Mr. Watson.
Madam President, Governing Board, Ms. Garcia, I will look into that if that's the case. I don't think we had enough instructional minutes before. I don't think we should.
I just stated we did, and we do.
I don't think we should meet the minimum requirements to educate our
No,
children.
they're not the minimum. In fact, if you go ahead and do your homework, do the research, you will see that we've actually gone above the minutes. We are doing more than is required.
Ms. Garcia.
Just so you know that, because I did my research.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. And I do want to just caution. Again, I would invite our board members to attend the conversations that we've been having that have been shared. with the entire board by refusing to attend and then coming and having to read from whatever writing or whatever somebody's texting you is not very professional.
You mean the way you and Steve were texting at the forums? Everybody saw that.
I don't text. I don't text. That's an accusation, a baseless accusation.
It's
Please
on YouTube.
refrain.
You can see yourself. I watched
I'm
it.
not going to address the petty bickering. We're moving forward with the agenda, and we're going. I'm going into action item I, executive session. The governing board may vote to go into executive session, which will not be open to the public for the following purpose, pursuant to ARS 38, 43103, 83, and 4, for discussion or consultation with its attorneys and or discussion with its attorneys to consider its position and instruct its attorneys regarding Moreno versus Hernandez et al. CV 2025 002719. Ms. Cantu, do I have a second? And your vote, please.
Second, and I vote aye.
Thank you. Ms. Hernandez, your vote. Going into executive session.
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Ms. Romero, executive session.
I'll abstain.
Please let the record reflect there's an extension. And Ms. Garcia.
To discuss your case, I vote no.
Thank you, Ms. Cantu, and I vote aye, and so motion carries. At this time, I will also share item number 2. The governing board may vote to go into executive session, which will not be open to the public. Do we have to take a second vote? And I've had a board member step out. I will have to wait until she comes back. Thank you.
I stated that since I do not support executive session to discuss Lydia's case, which has nothing to do with Cartwright, I vote no.
Yeah, we can go into executive session since we voted on that first item, and then upon resumption, and then taking a vote for the second. Thank you. Please let the record reflect that it is 8:33. Thank you. resuming our regular governing board meeting. Please let the record reflect that it is 9 p.m. And at this time, I'd like to move to approve and authorize Udall Shumway to represent the district in the appeal regarding Moreno versus Hernandez et al. CV 2025-002719. Ms. Cantu, do I have a second? And your vote, please.
I second and I vote aye.
Thank you. And Ms. Hernandez, how do you vote?
I would aye.
Thank you. And Ms. Romero, how do you vote?
I vote no. I do not think we should represent Lydia and Miss.
Thank you. Your vote. And Ms. Garcia, how do you vote?
I vote no.
Thank you. And I vote aye, and motion carries. We're going into item number 2. The governing board may vote to go into executive session, which will not be open to the public pursuant to ARS 38-431-03, 8, 3, and 4 for discussion and or consultation for legal advice with the attorneys of the public body regarding pending or contemplated settlement agreement in order to resolve litigation regarding case number 24-CV-02533 Phoenix MPO. Ms. Cantu, do I have a second? And your vote, please.
I have a second and I vote aye.
Thank you. And Ms. Hernandez, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Ms. Romero, how do you vote?
I will abstain.
Thank you. Please let the record reflect there's an abstention. And Ms. Garcia, how do you vote?
I vote no.
Thank you. And I vote aye, and motion carries. So we're going into executive session, please.
Before we move on, didn't Ms. Romero violate an open meeting law of what was discussed in the executive room?
We could. We are going into the executive session to discuss item number 2. If there was anything aside from that that's been reiterated, we could certainly bring that up at a later time to address it. But right now we're going into executive session, so please let the record reflect that it is 9:03 p.m. and we can address that.
Thank you.
I would like to resume the Cartwright Governing Board meeting. Please let the record reflect that it is 9:27 p.m. And going on to item number 2, under resumption of the regular meeting, I move that we approve the settlement agreement to resolve pending litigation in case number 24 CV 02533 Phoenix-MTL. Ms. Cantu, do I have a second? And your vote, please.
I second and I vote aye.
Thank you. And Ms. Hernandez, your vote.
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Ms. Romero, how do you vote? Please let the record reflect that Ms. Romero is no longer at the dais or at the meeting. Ms. Garcia, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And I vote aye. Motion carries. The next regular governing board meeting will be held on Wednesday, January 14th.
Lydia, I have a question. Are we going to have future agenda items? I don't see it anywhere on here.
We discussed it earlier in the agenda. Yes. And the next regular governing
what
board
number
meeting,
was that? Because
it's on the agenda item, previous item on the agenda. But the next regular governing board meeting will be held on Wednesday, January 14th, 2026 at 6 p.m. at the Cartwright School District Boardroom. Ms. Cantu, do I have a motion for adjournment? A second, I'm sorry.
Second, and I vote aye.
Thank you. And Ms. Hernandez, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Ms. Romero, please let the record reflect that Ms. Romero's back at the dais at 9:29. Ms. Romero, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. And Ms. Garcia, how do you vote? Aye. Thank you. And I vote aye, and motion carries, and we are now adjourned. Thank you. Please let the record reflect that it's 9:29. Thank you.
Would you like me to sign?